Howdy, y'all. Professor Parks, PhD here, and welcome back to the channel, or welcome to the channel, whatever the case may be. Now, this is a video that's hopefully going to start a trend where on Mondays I post a video about mental health, specifically my own mental health struggles and how that has affected my life through my particularly focusing on my academic career, my going through a PhD program with mental illness, and also my professional career and how it has affected my goals, shall we say, in life, or in that regard. But that's not the only content that I'm going to be putting out, so don't worry, I am still going to be putting out astronomy content. I have a number of lectures that I need to put out in order to complete some of the playlists that I've created, but I do also plan on trying to create regular content. On Thursdays, I plan on putting out science talks, either those that I have given or those that I have been a part of or witnessed. And if I don't have any of those to share, then I will consider creating my own or giving my own talk and live streaming it so that folks could ask me questions about it. We'll see how that goes. I have a few lectures, so I have plenty of content to post in that regard, so we'll see how that goes. And then on Sundays, I plan on doing a live stream called Coffee and Science. I have done this in the past. The main goal was to showcase educators, professional scientists, and just show the human side of them. And really the main goal there was to just show folks that, we're just people. We are not part of some grand conspiracy to pull the wool over your eyes. We are simply professionals working in a science field, trying to do the best we can, and trying to find the truth of the universe in whatever realm we choose to study. That being said, like I said, Mondays are going to be mental health Mondays, and I'm going to post, as I've said, videos, edited or unedited or slightly edited videos about. Yeah, I've already said that. I'm probably going to cut this out. My last mental health video, entitled Fear, Procrastination, and Imposter Syndrome, or something to that effect, when I posted that, a friend of mine contacted me and asked me a very straightforward question. He asked me, why do I put these out? And among other things. And I'd like to address that. I've addressed that question in a few of my past mental health videos, here and there, that and interspersed with everything else. But here I want to that's the point of this particular video, is to address that particular question. Why is it that I put out videos concerning about not just mental health, but my own personal mental health, sharing things that others may find be very personal, and it may be uncomfortable, and possibly, I would hate to think that anyone would think that it's inappropriate for me to share these things. And I do try to put trigger warnings in whenever I discuss something that is of particularly sensitive nature, such as moving on to the next life, or trauma, or whatever that happens to be. But the reason why I'm putting these out is, I will first admit, this is catharsis for me. Because of my situation in life, where I am right now, and because the U.S. mental health care system sucks, I do not have really a huge support network surrounding me. So one of the coping mechanisms that I've chosen to do is to vent about my illness online. Is that what's the word I'm looking for? Is that self-indulgent? Probably. Is it arrogant or what have you that I would expect anyone to watch this sort of thing? Possibly. Let me be clear, I don't know if anyone's going to be watching this. I don't know if anyone's interested in this. And, now that I've said that the Monday shows are going to be mental health, folks are free to watch or not watch as they feel free or as they would like. So yes, part of this is cathartic. Part of this is to just get things off my chest, and so that I can move forward and process. The other thing is, and I've had some evidence of this in previous comments, is I'm hoping other folks can relate to what I'm going through. And I'm going to try to be better about my videos in not only just talking about my mental health, but talking about the strategies that I use to move through it, move through the symptoms of my illness. So to make it more of not just a pity party or anything like that, but try to be constructive and to give, not exactly advice, but just let folks know how I deal with the strategies I employ. And maybe they will work for someone else. So I hope that other people can relate to the struggles that I go through, and it provides some measure of comfort. The other thing that I want to talk, or the other reason why I do this, is because I think someone has to. Now, I certainly won't say that I am the only person on YouTube or social media to talk about mental health. Particularly talk about mental health from someone who suffers. But even given that, I don't think there's enough people talking about it. I think that, yes, there have been a lot of strides made to destigmatize mental illness in the United States. I can't speak to any other country, but in the United States, I have seen attempts grow in terms to destigmatize mental health illnesses. But I believe we have a very, very long way to go, particularly when the fact that we still use the umbrella term mental health. We don't ever use the term physical health, or at least not that I'm really aware of. So there are a lot of strides that we need to be made. I have suffered I have been stigmatized or suffered the prejudice of other people's, and I want to not exactly call that out, but point out that it exists. For myself, if you do follow my videos, I suffer from bipolar 2. I can't remember which one's which, to be honest with you. I suffer from the one where I experience deep episodes of depression, followed by short episodes of hypomania. Now, what that means is that I become very energized. I can work for extended periods of time, like 10, 12 hours straight, or even longer, certainly longer than I can at any other time in my emotional cycle. Do I feel grandiose? Kind of. I feel very enthusiastic about what I can contribute to the world. Do I have superhuman expectations? Do I believe that I am the best human that there is, or that my ideas are going to set the whole world on fire? No, I do not have any unrealistic ideas or feelings that are associated with, or I believe are associated with, mania. I had a friend who certainly was on both ends of the spectrum, and I have seen what she went through in a manic state, and I certainly don't go through that. So, deep episodes of depression followed by, that can last weeks, maybe even months, if I don't take the proper steps to get myself out of it. And again, followed by a brief, maybe a couple days, maybe, I would, not even a week, followed by hypomania. This is an illness. I have struggled with recognizing that within myself. I was raised in a conservative household. Both my parents were probably undiagnosed depressives. My mother, at the very end of her life, One of her doctors who was giving her care, in a way, diagnosed her. He said that if she had been properly looked at, she would probably be diagnosed as bipolar. My father, certainly, now that I've looked at it, from a distance, I can see that he had a number of symptoms, outward symptoms, of depression. Obviously, he didn't speak about it, so I don't know about his thought processes, but just from an outward perspective, he suffered major depression or major depressive episodes throughout his life, brought about by trauma. And as in this household, mental illness wasn't talked about. Mental illness was, and it wasn't even, it was so not talked about that it was not talked about how we don't talk about it. It was whenever someone would display a symptom of mental illness or depression or what have you, that was attributed to something else. They are lazy, they are emotional, they are, they're crying for, they're asking for attention, they're attention seeking, things of that nature. And usually, if not always, these are negative connotations. So for me, particularly when I was first undergoing this, or when I was 13 and growing up, in my teens and a bit in my early 20s, I really felt that the symptoms of my illness were character defects. That if I put in enough work, and if I, told myself to be different, then I would be different, and I would be different always. I would essentially have fixed my character defect. I've since learned, through many, many years, that that's complete bullshit. Again, bipolar is a mental illness. It is a disease. I would even consider it a disability. It is something that needs to be managed, both through, I was going to say self-care, but through therapy or coping skills or things of that nature. I would almost refer to them as rehab, essentially very akin to physical rehab. And in some cases, in my case specifically, it needs to be treated medically. It needs to be treated with pharmaceuticals. And there's no shame in this. There is no shame for anyone else who has bipolar or schizophrenia or narcissistic personality disorder or borderline personality disorder. The disease itself is not a cause for shame. For myself, I think what I need to do is to take responsibility for my illness and take responsibility for the things that I have done while symptomatic, and I need to do whatever I need to do to keep myself healthy. And so not only am I healthy, but my relationships are healthy. I want to tell people those facts. And I don't want to do so in a you should do this sort of thing, or if you have bipolar, this is what you need to do. What I want to do is I want to address this subject through my own personal experience and let you know how I deal with this illness. This is not something that can be cured, sadly. At least in my case, it's not something that can be cured. It is not, it can only be mitigated. Like lupus or my psoriasis. There is no cure for this disease. There is only ways to mitigate its effects and minimize the detrimental effects it has on my life. Again, through therapy, through coping skills, and medication. And I honestly believe that depending on the severity of someone's illness, that would be a good recommendation for them as well. And maybe that can help them. But I return to the idea that this is an illness. And if you have this illness, or suspect that you have this illness, seek professional help. If only to get diagnosed. If only so that you understand your disease better. You know, if you don't feel comfortable going to therapy, then don't. If you don't feel comfortable taking medication, then don't. But I think all of us have, I had a come to Jesus moment where I realized what I was doing wasn't working. And I wanted it to work. And so I needed to just bite the bullet and try therapy, try medication, try the things my therapist wanted to do. No matter how uncomfortable it makes me, no matter how stupid I feel about doing it, how much I friggin' hate doing it, I'll do it. Or at least attempt to do it. I do not have a 100% success rate with these things. As I said, this is not... There are ways to mitigate the effects, but there is no cure, for me, sadly. And do I feel... Does it cause me... anguish may be too strong of a word, but does it bother me very much? Does it weigh on me quite a bit that I seem to be going through the same cycles, that I seem to be hitting the same roadblocks, feeling the same emotions, day in, day out, and possibly complaining about the same thing over and over again? Even though I may be working on it, those things are still there. Does it bother me that I do that? Yes, of course it does. That's part of the illness. Now, hopefully there are ways that I can learn to mitigate those feelings about feeling shitty about the fact that I have an illness. But we'll see. We'll see, assuming that I could ever actually find a therapist that I click with again. But that's another topic. So why do I do this, in summary? Why do I put out this content? Because I want to talk about mental illness. I want it to be something that is not verboten. I want it to be something that is understood. I want folks to see how it has affected my life, so that perhaps they can take those examples, those episodes, and relate to them in some way, and then also maybe relate to how I got through them. And of course, catharsis. I enjoy making these videos, but not only that, there are times when I feel I have to make the video. I have to be heard. I want to be heard. So I will continue to shout into the void about this for as long as I can, because I feel that it's important. Again, the voice in my head is telling me how arrogant I am or how arrogant I sound by saying this, but it is of dire importance that folks add their voices to the discussion of mental illness. Even if you don't have mental illness, talk about, take the time. I'm not suggesting you make YouTube videos, but, if you know someone with mental illness, talk to them and find out, what it is they're going through. Try to empathize with what they're going through, and try to understand what it is to have that kind of illness. All right. Well, I think that's enough for today. I will hopefully see you next week. Until then, peace out. Clear skies.